And good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 55 of the Odyssey Hour. Here on our Wednesday night, we are finally right at the start, a complete Odyssey Paranormal Society team. First time since, like, I don't know, mid-November, where we've all been on the show. And number 55, that has really no big significance to anything, but there we go. It's halfway between 50 and 60. There's a significance. And we all made it.
We did.
So,
the gang's all here.
So I guess really quick before we get into we're gonna do like stories tonight. I don't know if it'll cover the whole show, but we're gonna start off with a couple and then obviously react to it. And again, if anybody who is watching this now or later as a repeat, replay, whatever, has a paranormal story of their own, has a question, you can go ahead and send it in to us or me, whatever. You can go ahead and direct message it or, just make it easy. odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com. That's just where stories come in. I don't know if I want everybody to have to type in director at odysseyparanormalsociety.com. So keep it the KISS factor here. Keep it simple, stupid. So one really quick thing that we're working on, or I'm working on for us, is it's been it's been almost a year, maybe 2 years since the team has done a public presentation, public reveal for anything. And obviously, I think Pam was there for that one.
Yes, she was.
And I think that's where we first face-to-face met her. So, but as she can attest to, and we can, that was real bitch to try to find parking, get all the equipment up. Lauren, you weren't there for that one, so you don't know. But it was we pretty much did it right next to the River Center at the library. It was a free room. It was a gorgeous room, but it was like pay for parking. Good luck if you have it. And the River Center is right next to the Excel Energy Center. And I tried to pick a date when there was nothing going on with the Excel, which I succeeded at, but did not know that the River Center was right there, and did not succeed at picking a weekend where nothing was going on there. So what we're going to do and what I'm searching for is a really nice community center. I've looked at Maple Grove. I've looked at Egan community centers. Egan is gorgeous, but they're terrible at responding to any sort of information request, and they don't have a very good website. But we're continuing to look at that. So we're hoping for either late February, early March. Probably is going to be a Thursday evening, just so that we don't mess up anybody's weekend plans. Because as we have all found out, apparently we all have lives. And that requires a lot of scheduling. So if we're all in town and we all have to do work on Friday, I'm going to make everybody work Thursday night. because that's how I roll. So
Exciting.
it is going to be exciting. I mean, it's going to be not. It's going to be like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I mean, no big deal. But yeah, so watch out for that. I mean, obviously, I'll be posting it on the page. We'll be talking about it here on the live. As that gets announced, and we'll be giving everybody the information. Just want to let everybody know that that's coming up. So I hope you'll be able to join us wherever in the cities we end up being. So with that said, Scott is going to start us off with a story.
Yes. So for Christmas, a friend of mine gave me a desk calendar with 365 ghost stories, one for every day of the year. So, the one I picked out for tonight is called The Greenbrier Ghost.
That sounds familiar.
I live on Greenbrier. That's why. It's probably not the same Greenbrier, but that's the name of my street.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know.
Let's go on an investigation on my street.
On the morning of January 23rd, 1897, in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, Zona Hester Shue, a recently married young woman, was found dead on her floor. Shue's husband, Erasmus Dribbling Trout Shue, strangely refused to allow the coroner near and insisted he alone prepare Zona's body for burial. Shue dressed her in a high-collared gown and scarf that he wrapped around her neck, tying it in a large bow. Zona's mother, Mary Jane Hester, had never liked Shue and was certain he had killed her daughter. Soon after the funeral, Zona's ghost appeared to her mother, saying Shue had strangled her and broken her neck. To prove it, the ghost slowly spun her head around 180 degrees.
That's not creepy.
Mary Jane told the local prosecutor about her daughter's visit. The prosecutor had the body exhumed, and an autopsy revealed that Zona's neck had indeed been broken due to strangulation. In court, Mary Jane's testimony about her daughter's ghost helped convince the jury. She was sentenced to life in prison, and as it reads on a plaque near Zona's grave, it was the only case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer.
That's what it was. That's why I do it. For the Odyssey files, I did research on that sort of thing where a ghost came back to give a message. And that story came up where it was the only one where I don't think that's actually the case, or at least not anymore. But that did come up, was that case. So, I mean, I guess is your question then, what do you think of ghosts coming back and naming their murderers?
Yes, and what do you think are the odds that would ever happen again? Our court system is not very open to that kind of thing these days.
No, in fact, you see that almost every episode of the Dead Files. That they throw that up there that any sort of information about some sort of crime is not admissible in court. I don't know if they've changed that, but you guys go ahead, and then I'll do my.
Well, it's very interesting to know that wasn't just a story somebody made up. That was actually a case. I'm assuming it was an actual case, right, Mike? If you've done research on it.
Oh yeah, that was a real thing.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I don't. Maybe the testimony from the ghost was the tipping point, but I think there was other evidence that kind of stacked against this dude, like the fact that he didn't let the coroner touch her, and then they had to exhume the body, and then her neck was broken. Like, that's suspicious as fuck. That's beyond a reasonable doubt for me, for sure. But yeah, that's cool to know that it was like officially submitted as like a a testimony in court, and it was actually accepted by the court as a piece of evidence. But I guess any piece of evidence can sway a jury, So, yeah. Honestly, in more modern times, obviously that was at the turn of the 20th century. I think in modern times, it's very unlikely that would really happen. I think if somebody tried to say that, there might be some questions of if the witness is reliable there, for most people anyway. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I like that story. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wearing different headphones, so I couldn't tell.
I mean, it sounds like you're in the bathroom, but we can see that you're not. So
I'm not. Now I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think that is a very cool story. And I like the idea of a spirit coming back to sort of like get its own justice and appearing to, the mom in the dream and being like, yo, you got to do something about this. Yeah. However, I don't think that would be allowed in court now. Like, there's a lot of, I don't know, I had to study this stuff in school because I studied a lot about court, but there's a lot of rules as to what they can allow in court, and it's not that hard for a judge to turn something down. So I don't think that they would accept, a dream as evidence. But in theory, very cool. Very cool story. Thanks for sharing that, Scott.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting story. And the very first thought in my head, Mike, was the same like disclaimer that the Dead File puts in between like their episodes. Yeah. Like, none of this is admissible in court, which I'm sure Steve had them put in there for legal purposes because he knows more about that than Amy probably does. But yeah, I think it is very suspicious, and I agree with Sam that there was a lot of evidence stacked against them that I think they maybe overlooked the first time. But it is really cool that what prompted it was this dream that the mom had. I mean, yeah, I'd agree that probably wouldn't be admissible in court. But then again, if that did happen now, I don't think you can perform your own like family member or spouse's autopsy. Right? Or at least like if there's like police involved, they're not going to let you do that. Like an actual like licensed medical examiner would have to do that, I would assume.
Especially preparing for funeral, I don't think it's legal to prepare your own. You have to be a licensed mortician to do that.
Yeah, like I've never heard of that before. So I think there are a lot of things that would stop that exact situation from happening before it got to the point where the mom had the dream, if it happened now. But I'm trying to think of like a situation where if somebody like did have a spirit like come visit them and try to tell them something that like that would be I don't know if that would be admissible. It might give the family reason to request like to exhume a body for further examination. But then again, like it would have to have some kind of hard evidence, like the medical examiner saying like, yeah, they were strangled. We didn't catch it the first time or something like that. But really interesting story. I really like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, who knows if it's happened and it just encouraged people to dig harder for evidence, and maybe that motivation dug up evidence that was actually incriminating and it overturned a case. Who knows? I just don't think people are going to use, a ghost appearing as testimony or a piece of evidence in court anymore.
No, and honestly, if it wasn't for the basic fact that they dug up the body and found that to be true, I don't think they ever would have put the mother on the stand even back then, because that would never have swayed a jury, period. It'd be like, oh, my daughter came to me and said her husband strangled her. He obviously did. Like, that would never have done anything. But because that led to, the evidence being found that actually, confirmed what the dream had said, I think that was what just that extra boost swayed the jury. So I agree. I love that story back when I read it. I love that story now. Um, and again, you're probably right. It's probably happened many a times where spirit has come back. The one that I was talking about, where it's happened again, and I looked it up, from Chicago. So um, back in 1977, a woman by the name of Teresita Bassa was pretty much like fire department was called to her apartment. Her apartment was on fire. Um, or more importantly, like a mattress was on fire. And they put it out and they lifted it up and they found her dead body underneath this mattress. And they had no suspects, they had no nothing. Well, an co-worker, because she worked as a nurse, I believe. Um, a co-worker all of a sudden started having, I don't even want to call them dreams, like partial possession while she was dreaming. Her husband would like wake up and she would be talking in her sleep and he would ask her questions because the voice wasn't her own. And he actually asked her, like, who are you? And she said, Teresita Bassa. He had no idea who that even was. Um, and so he mentioned it to her the next day, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think in that first like session, like she said she had been murdered. I think she gave him clues, or maybe not at that point in time, but like maybe like 3 weeks later, this woman got like possessed again, and she's like, "Why haven't you made any arrests? Why haven't I? Why hasn't the murderer been caught?" And he's like, "We need proof. Like we can't just go out and start arresting people." And she actually gave them proof, like what to look for. And so this woman and her husband went to the police, said everything that had been told to them by this spirit, and they were actually able to find out who did it and got a confession out of them. And so, I mean, again, if it was just this woman saying, I've been channeling Teresita Bassa, she said she was murdered, that never would have been allowed in court. But because they were actually able to take that information, get the evidence and a confession as to the person who murdered her, obviously a slam dunk case. But none of that would have been found had it not been for her actual spirit coming back and being like, this is what you need to look for. And it turned out to be true. It was on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So one of these days, if we have time, because obviously all the Unsolved Mysteries are on Prime, we'll throw that up and I'll show you what I mean by that case and kind of what happened. Sorry, I still have a cough a little bit. I haven't coughed all day. All day. I was outside and nothing. And I sit down in this stinking chair and I can't stop. So it's obviously the chair.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, but no, I love that story. I love just that basic concept that when spirits are, I don't want to say intelligent enough, but what I mean by that is obviously they're not residual. When they still have their consciousness, when they can still reach out to the living, they can find justice for themselves. And I wish it was more of a common thing, but if it is, it's never reported. So, Scott, what do you think of that story? You didn't get a chance to answer.
Well, I like the story. That's why I brought it up. But I don't think even today, I don't think the prosecutor would even consider it, unless like the story you told, if they were come up with some kind of evidence to back it up. But I don't think a prosecutor would even consider exhuming the body today. Just write it off as ridiculous. There was think there was another case of something similar, of a West Point, at West Point, where a guy was killed, and his mother lived on the West Coast, I think in Washington State, and his ghost appeared to his mother and told her that he was murdered. As the officials at West Point had put it down as a suicide, and he went to his mother, and she got an investigation going, and they were able to prove that it was a murder, not a suicide. But that's all of it I can remember. This happens occasionally. I did see this
Teresita Basa.
Yes, I saw that on Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to start with a story titled "The Unwanted Hotel Guest." So this is kind of a long story, so I apologize right now for all of my reading. So here it is. So I've worked at a couple of hotels, mostly small ones, since I live in a small city. The first one I worked at was a 24-room one. Sometimes guests would leave without checking out. It was policy to pay up front for the stay. I was at the front desk, but would also help with the laundry, so I wouldn't always see who has already left. On this particular day, room 13 was closed with the chain lock. Keys hadn't been turned in. I waited till 1 p.m. to open the room, but it had the inside lock, so I figured they probably would stay another night. As I was going back to the reception area, what looked like a girl was walking my way. She was dressed in all black, hoodie on, and her face covered with her hair. I honestly freaked out a bit. I felt fear and the need to run. I was in the workplace, so I didn't. My mind kept telling me to ask her what room she was in. Maybe she was from 13, but my instinct told me to avoid her. I walked past her like the coward I am. One of the maids didn't. She was supposed to clean that room and was waiting for the guest to give her the okay. So when she saw this girl, she didn't think twice to ask her. The girl responded in a very deep, raspy voice, "I will be leaving today." I don't know if that's what a deep, raspy voice is, but you know what? I figured I'd throw in some drama. The maid didn't respond while this person kept walking. When she calmed a bit, she called me to tell me about it. Some of my other coworkers also saw this person, but they felt off about it and avoided contact. I stayed in the reception area for a while. There were no guests but this one, and no one had come in or out. I kept calling room 13 to tell them to check out was 2 hours ago, and they would have to pay another night if they didn't leave. No answer. I decided to try and open the door again. This time, success. The room was empty, and it was clean. Me and the maid freaked. Who was this person? Were they really a guest? We started thinking that maybe some homeless person had sneaked in. I went to check the log, and the room had been rented, but the guest went in for 5 minutes and left. Apparently, they didn't return. I immediately started looking for this person, and my coworkers were helping. We looked everywhere. We locked doors along the way, making sure there was no one in the rooms. We didn't find anything. I only had access to the camera to the point that pointed at the exit. I checked, and no one had come out. At 4 p.m., it was time to go home. I told the lady that stayed in my place, let's call her Amy, about the situation, and she got freaked out, saying she wouldn't be leaving her area the entire shift. The next day when I came in, the night shift guy asked me if I noticed Amy acting weird. He said she was in such a hurry to leave the night before. Turned out that Amy was chilling at the front desk because the hotel was empty. Then she saw someone walk down the stairs that came from where the rooms are. She described the same person we saw. She was so scared she froze. This person didn't even look at her. It remained unexplained. We requested the footage so we could see where this person had gone into hiding, but the owner told us the camera shut down that day. Most of us felt the same thing while being close to this person. Fear, the instinct to run. What is going on? Who would like to go first?
I don't know what's
go
going
first
on.
this time. Someone else go first.
I can go. That's It's really interesting, but the first thing that pops into my mind is the girl from The Ring, but just like at a hoodie.
Same.
Which I would be freaked out too. Don't get me wrong, because that is not like something I want to be anywhere near. But I mean, we have to remember that like hotels are just like traps for energy, because you do get so many people from so many different aspects of life coming through, and like even just staying a night, you could leave a little bit of like an imprint of your energy there, especially if something traumatic happened. I guess maybe management, like the people that were like, oh, the camera's shut down, we're just lying, and they know what's going on and they don't want to tell their employees, you know, like that. I'm kind of suspicious of that. Like, yeah, the cameras could have easily just like been malfunctioning because this presence was interfering with them, but maybe the owners were just like, oh, that's like actually very like damning evidence that there's a ghost in here, but we don't want to show that to our employees, you know, like there could be that. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of, it's like a crossroads for energy. So I wouldn't be surprised even if that was just some spirit passing through for a few days and nothing ever happened again. That could also be the case. Or it could be somebody that's there to stay. Who knows? But yeah, freaky nonetheless. I would be scared too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren, I think you make some really good points about hotels that I hadn't thought about in terms of them being a place where a lot of energy can gather, just with so many, like hotels are like, you visit one, but it's a liminal space in a way, because nobody stays there permanently. You know, not even people that work there really. They go home and sleep somewhere else.
Unless you're Hotel California.
Unless you're Hotel California. So true. Yeah, that's a cool story, I guess. It leaves me wanting more. I guess I want to know what did they see this person again? Was that they were following through with their I'm leaving today or whatever they said in their deep raspy voice. I will be leaving later. But also like the fact that they describe the ghost as basically looking like the person from The Ring makes me feel a little suspicious. Like it's supposed to be, they're trying to make up like a creepy story, because I don't know. I don't think that, you know, we've talked about this. Not every spirit looks like a little girl. Not every spirit looks like a lady in a white dress, and not every spirit needs to be creepy and look like the girl from The Ring.
But they often do.
Allegedly.
Apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting story, I guess. I would be creeped out by that. The thought of someone walking down a hallway looking like that is scary. But yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of just got lost in the story. I think it felt a little like to me.
That's fair.
That's my thoughts.
Scott, you can go.
I keep thinking, if this was an actual spirit, why would they turn off the cameras? I mean, that seems like a coincidence to me, that the cameras would be out. Because why would a spirit want to turn off the cameras? I think if the cameras had been running, if it did not record anything, if it recorded the spirit, that would have been great evidence. If it had not recorded something which everybody had seen, that would also be evidence. Because having no recording of something that everybody has seen would be evidence, but not proof, I suppose. That would not prove that it happened, but it would be evidence of that what they saw was not physically there.
Collective hallucination.
Yeah, that's yeah. That would be
That'd be mass hysteria.
yeah. There would have to be something that would cause that, but um, yeah. Um, Haley and Lauren made good points. You know that it is a little suspicious. The appearance is so cliche. Um, um, their first thought was the ring. And actually, my first thought was the magician from Indonesia, the sacred Rihanna, who does her routine. Who does her
50,
routine
50.
in that same that? Huh?
50-50 shot on that
Yeah.
one. The ring or whatever it is you just said.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my first thought anyway. But
Of course.
so anyway.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, are you done, Scott?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think if they got that footage on security and it was you could literally track this person from camera to camera, I think that would point to it's just a creepy fucking person going around and for some reason just doing weird shit for no reason, as humans kind of do sometimes. But I think I think it's interesting that everybody got like the same feeling. You know, there were kind of like there wasn't any like room for interpretation with people. Everybody had the exact same response to just seeing this entity, which I think is kind of telling a little bit. But honestly, yeah, it could just be a very creepy looking person and just everybody acted the same because, like, wow, why is there a person? The only guest in here is this creepy person that's just walking around. That's kind of unsettling. So yeah, as it is with everything, always have to sit on the fence because you don't have all the facts. You don't have the person here to ask questions to. So yeah, all in all, it's an interesting story. It's creepy for sure. But I'm kind of 50-50 on whether or not it's actually an entity or just a creepy person that's walking around and hiding in the hotel to be a little shit.
I I don't know if I can get behind like it's an actual person, especially if um, they still don't have the leaving or entering. I mean, the hotel supposedly was supposed to be empty, and um, I would think that if management, especially if it was a real person, and management had like did not actually shut down the cameras, but just told their employees that, but it was a real person, then they would have on video this person coming and going. So, I mean, I think that that would be more to their favor of being like, look, this is a real person just trying to be, just trying to be an a-hole and try to scare people with their appearance. And so, I mean, the basic fact that they don't, and like nobody saw this person leave, so nobody saw this person enter. I still have to put it towards it probably an entity of some sort. Why they have to do the whole, and I don't know if it's so much like they're trying to freak people out by putting like all their hair in front of their face, or if it's I don't want people to see my face type of thing. I mean, how many stories out there? I mean, I don't have anything about the hair being in front of them or anything, but I mean, how many stories out there of people couldn't see the face, they couldn't make out the face. There were no facial features. I mean, the face just seems to be such a like thing that it's never there. I mean, it isn't obviously in some cases, but I don't know, maybe that's just another way spirits manifest the way they look in order to keep people from seeing their face, or maybe it's the fact that they don't have a face to see. I mean, I would love to have been have something in this story been like the maid like pulled her hair aside and there was just an empty void. I'm like, that would have been sweet. Like I would have loved that part of the story. That would have put a whole new connotation on it. But I mean, let's look at something here. I mean, we have room 13, which was locked from the inside, which did not seem to ever have anybody in it except for that one person who left, and they know that he left and then never came back. So how did it get locked from the inside and then unlocked from the inside? I would like to know why that person left, paid for the room, and then never came back. Maybe he walked in to see Miss Ring. Who knows? But there's some creepy things going on there. I honestly think, though, that these people were probably freaking themselves out more than this spirit. I mean, right away, at least 3 of us, probably 4, went straight to the ring. I never even seen the ring, but I know that description. And so, I mean, this is not like a story from like 1987. I mean, this is a recent story that was put out. So chances are everybody in that hotel in some way had seen the ring. So, I mean, did they just psych themselves out and freak themselves out? That's another question. But as Sam put it, and it's the case with all of these stories, you're always going to be missing information. You're never going to be able to ask questions. You just have to take the information they give you and hope that it's enough to make, at least a good enough hypothesis. I almost want to think that I said that wrong, but I know I didn't. It's too close to hippopotamus. which I could say. So sorry. All right. So anybody have anything to add to that one?
I did have something, and then it promptly left my brain.
It was the hippopotamus, wasn't it?
Yeah. Your joke cleared my brain, apparently.
You're welcome. All right. Well, then we'll move on to.
Now I remember.
Now you remember.
This supposed spirit didn't really do anything.
No.
Like, just kind of walked around. Yeah, it just said, "I'll be leaving," and then I guess a door locked and unlocked, and then I guess a room cleaned itself, or something like that. It's just like, you should be thanking the spirit for doing your work for you. Like, honestly, the spirit didn't even do anything except walk around. So I don't think you have anything to worry about if the person who sent this is listening in any way, shape, or form, or listens to the Odyssey files when you do this next week. But yeah, I don't think you have anything to worry about. They don't really do anything.
Agreed. And I think that that's a great point to make. Yeah, I mean, all they did was walk around. And
wow, so like menacing. Really menacing.
Exactly. And say that they were going to leave.
Yeah. I mean, just like, don't worry, I'll be out of your hair.
What could be better? I mean,
I just want to slowly walk the hotel halls for no reason at all.
Maybe she wanted to stay a night. Who knows? I mean, chances are she probably had no connection to that hotel whatsoever. She probably was just in visitation and stopped by. Why? I have no idea, but I'm not that entity. All right. Black Shadow Woman. So about 2 weeks ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, and when I opened my eyes, there was a woman, all black, with long black hair, standing at the end of my bed. I was definitely awake. I've never had sleep paralysis before, and I could still move. I've never seen anything like this before. Then, a few nights ago, I woke up, and I couldn't breathe well. COVID. It wasn't like anxiety where you're hyperventilating or you have shallow breath. It was like I was being choked. And the next morning when I woke up, my throat hurt. COVID. This happened again the following night. I rest my case. After this, I started sleeping in a different room in my house, saged my whole bedroom, and have been wearing black tourmaline around my neck for protection. Along with this, next week is the anniversary of my brother's death, so I'm wondering if this is not a coincidence. Does anyone have any insight on why this might be happening or how I can protect myself from the shadow woman? Anything would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. I don't think it's connected to your brother's death because I don't know why a lady in black would be strangling you because it's the anniversary of your brother's death. I was gonna ask, what is your relationship with your brother like? Because if you hated each other, I don't know, maybe. But this is like classic sleep paralysis to me.
But
Like,
you said you could move. There was no sleep paralysis.
well, the first time, but waking up and having it be hard to breathe is a symptom of sleep paralysis.
Oh, well.
But yeah, the first time, like, I was definitely awake. Do you really know you were awake? Do you think you were having a dream and then just didn't remember going back to sleep? Or, like, there's a lot of possibilities. And there isn't anything else happening with this. So I don't know. It's tough. My gut tells me I think there's just too much like physical things happening that can be explained for it to be something more paranormal. So yeah, that's my gut reaction to it.
Okay, what are my thoughts? I agree that I don't think it really has much to do with the brother's death. Like, I kind of just felt like that felt like a random detail at the end, unless the brother was like choked to death somehow, or like something, he was hung or something like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know that I think that's connected, though maybe it is. What do I know? But I do kind of agree with Sam on the sleep paralysis factors. I get sleep paralysis like semi-often, and a big thing for me when I'm having it is that I will think I'm awake, but in reality I'm like asleep still. Like, I'm conscious, but I'm still within a dream and within sleep. But it really, really feels like you're awake and like it's real and like you can move around and stuff like that. However, the fact that it happened several nights in a row is interesting, and that there were sort of different factors, because I have had sleep paralysis, but I don't have it like that where I'm getting it several nights in a row and it's all connected to sort of the same dream. Yeah, I guess if this person is looking for advice on what they could do, I think that it wouldn't be a terrible idea to have, a paranormal team investigate. I think that there's something interesting there. If it is, after all, connected to the brother, maybe the brother is trying to come to visit in some way. I don't know why the brother would be choking you, but maybe you guys were enemies. I don't know. Yeah. So I think it could be something where it's worth a team investigating, but also sleep paralysis could be a factor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's important to look into all of the factors. And I mean, it didn't say when the brother died, but maybe this person is still kind of in the grieving process for that. And there's still a lot of raw emotions there that easily can come out in dreams, or, kind of make you think a little differently. So I think it's important to take in that, like, the emotional factor, because there could be some stuff there. But yeah, Haley, it was really interesting that you pointed out, like, I lost my train of thought. Wow. What was I going to say? Haley, what did you just say?
Sleep paralysis?
After that.
Or...
Wow. This really happens to me. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd have a paranormal team come out right away. I might wait a little bit and see like if it kept going, or maybe it's something to talk to a sleep like doctor about, because they can help you with those things. And yeah, I think they're like everybody said so far. I think there's a lot of other factors that need to be considered, rather than jumping right to, you know, my house is haunted and it's somehow connected to my brother's death. I don't know if that's the case. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Here we go. Okay, so I know that I've definitely heard some stories about like when spirits do try to communicate, and you know, like we've talked about before, it's kind of a learning process from like our theory of like spirits. Like the second they get into that whole aspect of being, they might not know how to communicate gently. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, maybe something was trying to communicate with you. It just wasn't getting through to you. And it was just kind of like lashing out and getting mad that it wasn't communicating. And it ended up giving you like bruises or something like that. I have heard of that happening before, where it's the good intentions, but they're just getting frustrated that you're not hearing them. It could also be that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be negative intentions, could just be frustration. Just something to think about.
No, I like that point a lot, Lauren, actually, because we talked about that, I believe, like last week or the week before, where spirits may have a hard time getting their intent or trying to like make contact with you, and sometimes forcefully doing that is the only way they can really get your attention.
Yeah, spirits intentions being misunderstood.
Misunderstood, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I agree with the rest of you about the sleep paralysis. I think that's something very likely explanation. It occurs to me that the description of this woman matches the one in the hotel. Could easily be the same.
No, it doesn't.
Long black hair.
Well, black hair, but I mean, she didn't say it was covering the face or anything. But
no, but she can change her hair if she wants to.
She's allowed to change her hairstyle.
Yeah. No, no, maybe she visited the hotel first and then went over to this place and fixed up her hair to talk to visit this woman. I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, I like other people have said, I think I would have her talk to a sleep specialist before bringing in anything paranormal. And if it keeps happening, you know, I take it she lives alone, so maybe she could have a friend come over and spend the night, see if they have any experiences. But that's it.
okay. So I'm in agreement that whatever these two paranormal experiences that she dealt with has nothing to do with the brother's death. But you know, you guys know as well as I do, I mean, that clients especially think everything is connected. If there's anything going on and then there's something way over here in left field, it obviously has something to do with what's going on in right field.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the nature of the game when you don't, I guess, particularly have the knowledge and experiences that we do. I mean, not everything is connected. And I definitely don't think this is. I think that is entirely a coincidence. The second thing that I would like to point out is, again, like this woman at the hotel, she wasn't doing anything. I mean, she woke up and this lady was standing at the edge of the bed. Yes, it's creepy. I mean, this obviously is in the middle of a public hotel. This is your private bedroom. I mean, the other thing about, and she didn't really say go into any detail, but you know, accompanying sleep paralysis and I don't think we've really talked about it very much, just in general, is old hag syndrome, which always accompanies sleep paralysis. People constantly are hallucinating this image of this old hag that is trying to attack them. And, like I said, she didn't really go into detail, just said all black hair, and standing at the edge of the bed. Um, so is this, is that her hallucinating during, a thing of sleep paralysis? I mean, I too have been asleep, or at least semi asleep, and um, have been jolted awake. And I can only imagine that I had, for whatever reason, stopped breathing, because, once I woke up, I'd started, not hyperventilating, but sucking in the air, because, I must have been deprived for a bit. Um, I don't know if I would have said anything along the lines if I was being choked. So, I mean, that whole experience, I don't know. Um, that was where you would have to ask him about the intensity. How long did it last? Did you feel fingers around the neck, or did you just have trouble breathing? I mean, there's a lot of different things that could be going on there. Um, so whether that's paranormal or not, I have no idea. But this person obviously has something to do, has some sort of knowledge of the paranormal, because the first thing that they were doing is they tried to sage, which hardly anybody ever does correctly, unless you're like Scott, or somebody who has been in some way trained or shown how to do it. Almost everybody does it wrong, depending on what that is they're trying to do. I mean, I think one of the big things about sage, and I believe we've talked about it before on the show before, is it just calms the energy down. I mean, a lot of people think that when they use it, it kicks spirits out, or it like puts up this protective barrier. No, it just calms the energy down. Now, obviously, when you do more stuff like Scott does, where he adds in, well, this whole huge mixture. In fact, I just watched BJ and Scott's cleansing of the the residential, and I actually got a thing, kind of a shot of BJ's conch shell. I mean, and it was just filled with with stuff. I think he probably had 7 different ingredients in there to cleanse the house. And again, there's a huge difference between cleansing the house and just saging it. So, I mean, I think that that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand about that sort of thing. So, I mean, I agree, that if this never happened again, if that was like a one-time deal, um, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, Haley, you are correct that, I mean, obviously, if it continues or it happens again, bring in a reputable team. But if this was a one-off, it happened 2 weeks ago and hasn't happened since, I wouldn't worry about it. It might even have been something completely residual that happens once every 50 years. We just don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting story, but there's a lot of factors in there that could just be normal, and there's a couple of factors in there that could be paranormal. You never know. But again, more information is needed. All right. Does anybody want to ask a question, or I have one more story?
I can do a quick question since we've got 5 minutes left.
Sure.
and this people, anyone watching too can answer this in the comments, but I've been wanting to get back into reading for like a while, and I was curious if anyone has recommendations related to like paranormal literature that you've read or that you've heard about.
The Demonologist.
Audience included. The Demonologist.
The Demonologist. It's a book about Ed and Lorraine Warren.
I better write these down. Hold up.
Way to
Hold
be
the phone.
prepared.
My phone was right
I
here.
used to have a copy. I have no idea where it was or where it went. I loaned it to somebody and they never returned it. Pricks. But
The Demonologist.
The Demonologist.
Okay.
Okay, that was the only one. I mean, I don't read
Sam doesn't
paranormal
read.
books. I don't read. Yeah.
Sam don't read.
That's a good point. I don't read. So I read for school and that's it.
That's fair. Yeah,
I'm trying to like take a peek over at my paranormal bookshelf section that I have. It's like maybe 5 books. It's not that many. Honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat. I haven't really found like a really good paranormal book that I really enjoy yet. I found a lot of like true crime, but that's like kind of like, yeah, separate. Yeah, I'll tell you the first book that I got. The first paranormal book was a book about the ghost of Alcatraz. That was a fun one. Yeah, I mean, it's tiny and it's not really like, I don't know. It's just kind of like legends. Probably not half of it's like even true. I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've got several books that are, Haunted America and Haunted Minnesota, that are just ghost stories. I mean, you're really not going to, I'm assuming you want to like learn something like, instead of just read for entertainment purposes.
Either one. I'm open to like, real accounts. I'm open to ghost story kind of stuff, but I don't know. I was just curious if anybody has read like good paranormal literature that they liked a lot.
Well, I mean, I would read the 37th Parallel. If you haven't yet, that is a book about Chuck Zukowski, and it's actually very good. I mean, it just kind of follows along, like pre-Alien Highway, and it goes along on some of his cases and what he thought at the time, and I mean, an author followed him for I don't know how long it was, and then wrote about the experiences that Chuck had. And at the end, he makes this very, very awesome, kind of startling correlation between all of these sites that he has researched. It's a good read. I would recommend it. If you really, really wanted to read maybe The Dictionary of Demons by Michelle Belanger, that's a humongous book. So
I was going to say, that sounds big.
It is. In fact, she just did her 10th anniversary version and she added 40,000 words.
Jesus.
So it's like a 400, 500 page book right now.
Yeah, I think I'll maybe work my way up to that one. How about that?
That's tier number 7.
It's not a good starter book.
Yeah, that's like graduate level. We're talking like undergrad level, like high school.
I'm talking elementary school.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I've got a book called My Teacher Flunked the Planet.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Should I read them with my Captain Underpants books?
Your Encyclopedia Brown?
Percy Jackson and the Olympians is my favorite paranormal series.
It's not even a paranormal series.
That's the joke.
Oh. Sorry.
It went whoosh.
Sometimes I think you might be serious. That's all.
Scott, do you have anything?
I think some people probably associate like Greek mythology with paranormal shit, even though it's just it's not because it's not real. It's mythology.
Scott, did you have any books you wanted to add?
I've got quite a few of them, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of any titles. Just for one that I read that was just a fun read was I can't think of the title. It's written by Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson, and it was about the stuff that didn't make it on the show.
I think it's like ghost hunting like 101 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was just fun to read, I thought.
Yeah, I'm open to something like that. A fun read is always good for getting you back into reading.
Yeah, it's called there's a couple of them here that they did. One's called Ghost Hunting, the other's called The Ghost Files.
I think that's the one I've got.
The Ghost Files, yeah. They actually did a bunch.
Generic name.
I have Ghost Files, Ghost Tracker, Seeking Spirits, Ghost Town, Ghost Hunting, True Stories. I'm trying to like make it bigger so I can read like the little print. But yeah, those are all Grant and Jason authored books. I have another one that was written by Michelle Belanger that's been sitting on my nightstand probably literally for like a year now, and I have not gone past the forward. But it's a book she wrote about psychic vampires.
Wow.
And that's not a thick book. It's only like 250 pages, 300 pages. I don't know that. So, but I mean, it's a normal book. So if you want to borrow that one, that's good. I mean, I have a book on aliens that I read a long time ago, but it was very interesting. It's obviously not My Teacher Flunked the Planet, which I do have, by the way, if you want to borrow it. It's a great book. And then I have a book on poltergeist, which I have not read. So I mean, when we do our meeting, if you want to look at some of those and grab whatever you want,
Sure.
You're more than welcome to. So yeah. Does anybody have any more books that they would like to suggestions like to throw out? No. Otherwise, we'll vamonos. Did I say that right?
Vamonos.
Vamonos.
Yeah.
Will we go? That's what you said.
Sure. Okay. Anyway. All right.
That's what you said. Anyway, sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Used to being mocked. Okay. So we're going to take off. Hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. We'll be back next week, hopefully with some big announcements and another great topic show. So for all of us here, I hope you guys stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you back here next week. Everyone have a great night.